Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking you far north to a place where the shadows are long, the rain is constant, and the air is just thick with secrets.
We're talking about late October in Oslo.
Exactly. And this isn't some cozy Scandinavian mystery.
Not at all. This is a rapid, destructive unraveling. We're deep diving into a case that starts with, a simple ethical slip.
And it just explodes. It explodes into this multi-layered conspiracy involving organized crime, multiple murders, and even international art theft.
And at the center of this whole storm is a detective, Frank Frølich.
Right.
We're looking at a man who, by all accounts, was just caught in the routine. Our sources, they're relentless in detailing the the architecture of his downfall.
And it all focuses on that one moment he lets a woman, Elisabeth Faremo, into his professional and personal life.
It's the critical moment.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We are tracking the sequence of events that turns what seems like a simple attraction into a catastrophic professional failure.
And ultimately, a massive high-stakes investigation.
We want to give you the shortcut, the essential knowledge nuggets, explaining how quickly Frölich's life just became submerged in deception.
All rooted in one single fateful encounter.
And that first encounter is so important, right? Because it sets the entire tone of compromise.
It does. It didn't happen in a smoky bar or anything like that. It happened during a botched police stakeout.
At a place called Badir's shop. And the sources describe it so vividly.
Oh, they do. Smelling like a rotten apple cellar with the added sickly sweet odor of oil, just grimy.
And Frölich is just sitting there waiting, observing.
And then she appears, Elisabeth Faremo. She just walks in.
And she's quick. She swipes cigarettes and a Snickers bar, and then the whole operation just goes south.
It does. And Frölich, whether he's compromised or just distracted, he lets her slip away. He doesn't properly report it or identify her.
He's sort of leaning on this idea that, oh, someone else will handle the details. But his focus has already narrowed completely to her.
He's already prioritizing her presence over his duty. It's immediate.
And then they meet again at the Café Nerona.
And that reunion is what really seals his professional fate. It's one of those days where the neon signs are reflecting off the wet tarmac, giving everything that dark cinematic.
That Munch-like feel you mentioned.
Exactly. And she finds him. She's instantly captivating, but also really unsettling. Sharp eyebrows, pale complexion, the long clinging skirt.
Just pure old-school film noir.
Totally. And Frölich notes the small wrinkles around her mouth. And he realizes she's older, more experienced than he first thought. Which, just adds to her mystique.
Her dangerous mystique. And she immediately takes control of the entire situation.
Right away. She openly confesses to the little theft from Badir's shop, the Marlboros and the Snickers.
And when Frölich tries to play it down, to rationalize his own failure to act, she delivers the line that becomes the anchor of their entire toxic relationship.
You saw me.
You saw me.
And that phrase is so much more than an admission. It's a declaration of power. It's mutual secrecy.
By saying, you saw me, she's confirming that he failed. He failed his professional duty by letting a thief walk away.
And now she has leverage. They are, from that moment on, conspirators. He's trapped.
He's caught between this desire and the immediate unsettling discomfort that she just wields over him.
And he rushes out, feeling the charge of it all. But he manages to call her by her name, Elisabeth, just as he leaves.
And it's that momentary connection, built entirely on secrecy, that allows this relationship, which we're about to get into, to just flourish in the most destructive way possible.
So as we get into it, we really need to understand that the relationship between them, between Frölich and Elisabeth, it's not built on shared interests or, any real emotional connection.
No, not at all. It's sheer physical and psychological intensity, with this thick layer of secrecy over everything, and it moves at lightning speed.
It really is the definition of obsession, just completely overriding intellect.
The sources describe his inner world just freezing. His mind is consumed only by images of her, like the curve of her back, that sapphire blue stare.
And he's perpetually fighting his own reluctance, right? He knows this is ethically wrong, but he's completely undermined by his desire for her.
And she uses that desire as a weapon.
Absolutely. She controls the pace, the nature of their intimacy. There's that remarkable description of her breath streaming like mist.
Yeah, caressing his cheeks before it dissipated.
That physical proximity just overrides every single logical professional thought Frölich has. She is setting the rules. She's establishing herself as the one in charge.
And she's fully aware of her magnetic draw and his professional vulnerability.
Which is perfectly illustrated by the incident with the key.
The first concrete betrayal. And it happens in his own apartment.
She gets unauthorized access, and when he finds the lights on and the living room door ajar, he's just confronted by her complete composure.
She's calm, almost serene, just standing in his space.
And he asks the obvious question, how did you get in?
And her answer is the simplest, most damning thing she could say.
She borrowed a key from the kitchen bowl.
So Frölich, in his disbelief, he calls her a thief again, right? It echoes their first meeting.
It does. And her reply is just devastatingly provocative. She says, you knew, didn't you?
And this is where we see his mental acrobatics begin. He doesn't want to accept that she is a calculating criminal who is using him.
Yeah. He dismisses the implication that he was somehow complicit. He's thinking as if, he thought repeatedly, as if...
It's his defense mechanism, right? He is actively choosing to ignore the evidence of her duplicity just so he can keep her close.
And she expertly manages the optics of the situation. She holds up the house key she supposedly used, flicks her hair back in this very conscious gesture.
And tosses the key into the bowl, making sure he hears that clink against the other odds and ends.
It's a total performance of innocence and honesty. Like,
yeah.
See? I returned it.
But the real sting, the true betrayal, is that the key she returned was a decoy.
It was a red herring. The key she actually left in his bowl, the one she wanted him to find later, was something else entirely.
She used the whole house key incident to mask this crucial swap. She placed the real piece of evidence,
The safety deposit box key,
in his care, without him even knowing it.
It's a beautiful piece of, like, calculated espionage. She needed a safe place to store evidence that couldn't be traced back to her.
And what better place than the kitchen bowl of a compromised cop who would never suspect he was holding something so significant?
Exactly.
And his compromise just deepens, doesn't it? His curiosity, or maybe his paranoia, it pushes him to follow her.
Yeah, he trails her, keeping a distance of about 50 meters all the way to Blindern University.
Where she disappears in one of those large academic auditoriums.
And this is where her double life is just exposed in the most brutal way. It shows she wasn't just deceiving him. She was living this completely compartmentalized existence.
He sees her talking intently across rows of chairs with a lecturer, a woman named Reidun Vestli.
Vestli is initially described as her mentor, but the sources make it very clear that the relationship is much deeper. She's her lover.
But the most horrifying detail for Frölich is Elisabeth's reaction when she sees him.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely. No signs of recognition, no suggestion of guilt, no shame. Her eyes just pass over him as if he's a total stranger.
For Frölich, who has risked his career and his ethics for this intensely physical, secretive bond,
that indifference just confirms your duplicity. It's a devastating blow.
That lack of shame is terrifying because it just shows her utter coldness and control. She doesn't feel the need to perform for him in public.
So Frölich is forced to conclude he has to rewind and edit out everything, recognizing the compromised, abject condition he's fallen into.
But he still can't walk away.
No. And he keeps digging. He transitions from, a personal investigator into a genuine detective trying to find out who this woman really is.
He runs her name, Elisabeth Faremo, but finds nothing immediately conclusive. But he starts to suspect a link to local organized crime.
So he starts discreetly asking his colleagues. He talks to a guy named Gerd.
The one with the snus lip and the heavy cologne?
That's the one. He's typically well informed about the criminal underworld in Oslo. And he confirms the suspicion.
Jonny Faremo, a known commodity. An armed robber who recently served 3 years and, critically, lives in a flashy, expensive terraced apartment on Eekberg Ridge.
And the pieces start clicking into place.
And here's this fantastic, almost dark twist of relief for Frölich.
Right. Gerd confirms that Johnny lives with his sister.
And the sources note Frölich's boundless joy that Elisabeth is just the sister, not the wife, of a gangster. He immediately clings to this slim, absurd hope.
The hope that the relationship might be salvageable.
But that joy is instantly replaced by sheer panic when he considers the reality of the situation.
He recognizes the massive police ethical dilemma. He starts playing out the argument in his head.
You have to understand, Elisabeth. I'm a cop. Your brother is a member of a gang. We're talking about organized crime.
The panic comes from the fact that she chose to keep this most fundamental truth secret from him, even though she knew he was a police officer from day one.
She cultivated a relationship with an officer while actively concealing her family's link to organized crime.
That professional proximity wasn't a coincidence. It was a buffer. But that buffer collapses almost immediately.
He tries to have this crucial conversation with her in some greasy fast food place, but their discussion is dramatically interrupted.
By Lena Stegersand, his colleague from the very investigation where he first spotted Elisabeth.
She walks in, and Lena, who knows the criminal ecosystem, she instantly connects the dots.
The sources describe her face becoming a transparent pane of glass as she transitions from a casual friend seeing a colleague to a policewoman making connections.
Lena knew Elisabeth was the woman who compromised her operation, and now she knows Frölich is sitting with the sister of Jonny Faremo.
And that accidental sighting, that single moment of recognition, means that Frölich's private deception is now public knowledge within the force.
Game over.
Game over for his professional standing.
The fallout is instantaneous, and it's the catalyst for Act 2, which we're calling the crisis, the alibi, and the cascade of death.
Frölich's personal chaos merges violently with a genuine criminal investigation.
The murder of Arnfinn Haga, a 22-year-old security guard in Lewenga.
And Haga's murder immediately pulls in Jonny Faremo and his associates. The police quickly locate the gang Johnny, Jim Rongstad, and Vidar Ballo playing poker.
And who is caught with them?
Elisabeth Faremo, and she's the alibi provider.
She uses Frölich's name explicitly to shield the gang. She claims they were all together after she left Frölich's flat.
So she makes him an involuntary accomplice in obstructing a murder inquiry.
The reaction from his superior, Gunnarstranda, is, well, it's explosive, and you can't blame him.
No. Gunnarstranda delivers one of the most memorable lines in the source, stating that Frölich has been humping the sister of a hardened criminal for weeks.
And this entanglement is now threatening to completely dismantle a major investigation.
The professional damage is total. Frölich is ordered to take a week off.
Gunnarstranda is acting, supposedly to protect Frölich from being suspended or trampled underfoot by the organizational elephants, but the message is clear.
He's a liability. He needs to disappear.
And Gunnarstranda demands he talk to Elisabeth, urging him to clarify the alibi situation for both their futures.
But when Frölich tries to contact her, the situation just spirals immediately out of his control.
She's gone.
Vanished. Her phone is switched off. Frölich drives to that flashy flag on Eatberg Ridge and finds it dark and empty.
And a neighbor confirms she left recently, maybe half an hour before he got there.
With a suitcase and a rucksack, suggesting she was going on holiday?
But the timing is, of course, highly suspicious. It coincides exactly with the fallout from the Haga murder.
And then Frölich runs right into Jonny Faremo himself.
The description of Johnny is striking. He's tall, white, dressed in this almost paramilitary gear, green military trousers, Gore-Tex mountain climbing boots.
Yeah, he's clearly not just some petty criminal. He's serious.
And Johnny confirms Frölich's deepest suspicion, that Elisabeth was using him.
He calmly tells the detective, Elisabeth and I have occasionally discussed the fact that you were a policeman.
And then he adds, with just this total cutting sarcasm, that she maintained Frölich wasn't an asshole.
Ouch. That small, condescending compliment confirms to Frölich that he was never a lover. He was a tool.
She had discussed his professional identity with her criminal brother, fully aware of the ethical violation. Frölich realizes she had been shielding her cards like a child caught cheating the entire time.
The house key incident was the perfect symbol of her duplicity.
So desperate, he tries to track down Reidun Vestli, the lecturer, the lover. He suspects she might be the key to finding Elisabeth.
He finds her office at Blindern empty. She'd gone home early, claiming to be ill.
Again, matching the time of Elisabeth's disappearance.
He finds her at her home in Les Jourdais. He manages to catch her on the phone, but the conversation is immediately tense.
He hears that telltale low whistle in the background, suggesting she's driving.
And the moment he mentions Elisabeth, Reidun hangs up.
So the pieces are definitely slotting together. Elisabeth and Reidun are running together, or at least they were.
But this personal drama is just completely overshadowed by the rapid acceleration of the body count.
And Frölich soon gets news about Jonny Faremo.
Johnny is found dead, a victim of, well, internal criminal violence or betrayal.
The description is gruesome, but clinical. Jonny Faremo is cold and stiff as a Christmas anchovy, fished out of a collecting net below Vama power station near a town called Askim.
This immediately elevates the situation from a messy alibi case to a full-blown internal gang war, or something far more calculated.
And Gunnarstranda drops a critical knowledge nugget about the Haga murder investigation.
Right. The police received a tip-off about the gang's involvement, and it came from a woman named Maritha Sandmo.
Maritha Faremo. She's 29, a freelance model and waitress, and this is the key. She's Jonny Faremo's ex-girlfriend.
Gunnarstranda explicitly notes that the tip-off reeks of revenge.
So while investigators might usually discount a revenge tip, this one pointed directly at the gang, confirming their involvement.
This immediately introduces the motif of revenge and betrayal right into the core narrative.
And this sets Fröhlich thinking right. If Maritha was taking revenge, how far did that revenge go? Did she just tip off the police, or did she physically take revenge on Jonny?
Pushed him into the river.
Exactly. But before Fröhlich can follow that thread, the trail circles back violently to Reidun Vestli.
Gunnarstranda finds her house in Les Jourdais completely trashed, tomatoes strewn everywhere, a shattered wine bottle, a pool of red wine on the floor.
And Reidun herself is discovered severely beaten, covered in red and blue contusions, and just unable to speak about her attacker.
Critically, she refuses to report him. She's taken to Ouleville Hospital, traumatized and silent.
That refusal to report the attacker suggests the violence was linked to the criminal element. Likely someone looking for Elisabeth or for something Elisabeth had.
Her initial evasion and then this brutal beating, it just confirms she was heavily involved in Elisabeth's vanishing act.
Yep.
She tells the police, in a moment of pain, that the source of her pain is more important than them finding her attacker.
Oh.
And the plot thickens dramatically when Reidun's ex-husband, a guy named Langos, enters the picture.
He describes Reidun as having cheated him out of the family chalet during their divorce, a place in Vestre-Slasdre, Valdres.
And he confirms that Elisabeth had stayed there with Reidun during Easter.
And then the grim news. The chalet burned down.
This leads everyone, including the police brass, to the logical conclusion. Elisabeth is dead, consumed by the flames.
Perhaps murdered by her pursuers, who then covered their tracks.
And this assumption makes the next discovery even more tragic and confusing.
Fröhlich finds Reidun Vestli dead in her home.
Suicide. She took sleeping pills and suffocated in her own vomit. No immediate suicide note is found. It raises these profound questions about her motive.
It's just a moment of immense despair for Fröhlich. The sources convey his reaction with this profound emotional weight. Nausea was his body's reaction to this universe of death, of mutilation, the absence of grief, the absence of normality.
He's surrounded by death and corruption, all of it directly tied to the woman he was obsessed with.
And the initial assumption is that Reidun, maybe out of grief or guilt over Elisabeth's presumed death, killed herself.
But Fröhlich just can't shake the feeling that something more is at play here.
This overwhelming body count, it forces Fröhlich to achieve the psychological distance he needs to become a detective again.
And that's where we enter Act 3, where the details and the clues finally coalesce into this complex criminal conspiracy.
He's left with only the physical remnants of Elisabeth's brief presence in his life.
A single long black hair on his pillow, and the objects she left behind.
In his bedside drawer, he finds the poetry book by the deceased lesbian writer, Gunnarstranda Faremo.
And tucked inside that book is the crucial clue. A delicate embroidered bookmark.
And the symbol on the bookmark, it matches Elisabeth's tattoo, the crow's feet.
And the poem itself, it's about loyalty and memory, and it hints at this past devotion. I forget, no one pain also passes along a snapped twig. I forget no one if I kiss you.
The poem suggests this deep past loyalty that is likely not directed at him, Fröhlich, nor perhaps even Reidun or Jonny.
No, and Fröhlich connects this to her earlier comment that it wasn't possible to read the same book twice.
Yeah.
This suggests a loyalty that was old, possibly tied to someone she couldn't escape.
Or perhaps couldn't forgive, and this realization triggers the breakthrough about the key.
He reconstructs the scene in his head, the house key she returned with that satisfying clink.
That was the red herring, the distraction.
The key she left in his kitchen bowl was not his house key at all. It was a bank safety deposit box key.
She had used him as a temporary, unwitting safe for a crucial piece of evidence.
This is the moment the investigation just pivots. Fröhlich is now armed with a genuine piece of evidence tied not to petty theft, but clearly to a large-scale, planned criminal operation.
So he immediately uses the tattoo motif, the crow's feet, as a lead. He knows this design must have been done locally.
And he embarks on what the sources describe as a difficult house-to-house job, visiting tattoo parlors across Oslo, methodically chasing this one small piece of ink.
And he succeeds. He finds the tattooist who recognizes the motif.
And confirms the location where Elisabeth likely got the work done. Ask him.
The same town where Jonny Faremo was found dead below the Vama power station.
The locations are connected not by coincidence, but by a network of people.
And the Ask Him link is immediately reinforced by Gunnarstranda. His superior, now recognizing how necessary Fröhlich's knowledge is, reveals that Elisabeth's jailed ex-lover, Ilija Zupak,
The man who killed a policeman 6 years prior.
also lived and worked in Askim as a panel beater.
This is where the conspiracy takes physical shape. We now have a whole network. Elisabeth, her criminal brother Johnny, his gang,
Rogstad and Balo?
her intellectual lover Reidun, and her jailed ex-lover Zupak. All of them connected by Askim and, crucially, by loyalty to Elisabeth.
So Fröhlich immediately looks into Zupak's past crimes. He finds Zupak was convicted for an aggravated burglary back in 1998.
He targeted the safe of a wealthy businessman named Inge Narvesen. The original theft was 500,000 kroner.
And now, Fröhlich has the justification to open the safety deposit box. He can use the connection to the ongoing Haga murder investigation and the Zupak Narvesen theft.
So when the box is opened through official channels, the contents just confirm the massive scale of the operation.
It contained 5 million kroners in recorded banknotes.
Okay, let's unpack that. If the original theft from Narvesen in '98 was only 500,000, where did the other 4.5 million come from?
Exactly. Was this proof of ongoing, escalating blackmail?
It absolutely was. This proves that Narvesen was either blackmailed or robbed again by this organization, likely because they had discovered something far more valuable than the initial 500,000.
And the banknotes themselves were traceable, which will prove critical later on.
But the truly staggering reveal is the stolen art.
Tucked away with the 5 million kroner was a Giovanni Bellini painting, Madonna with Child.
And this wasn't just any painting. It was stolen from a church in Venice back in 1993, valued at millions, and considered a critical piece of Italian cultural heritage.
This elevates the Faremo gang from, petty armed robbers to players in international high-stakes art crime.
Purely by association with this safety deposit box. The complexity is breathtaking. The local gang stumbled upon a prize that exposed Narvesen's involvement in handling stolen cultural treasures.
And the conspiracy quickly becomes a legal battleground. Jim Rongstad, one of Johnny's poker buddies, immediately tries to plea bargain.
Through his defense lawyer, the Biddy Babe, Brigitte Bergam, Rongstad claims the painting was in the box but is now missing, implicating Narvesen.
This suggests that when Zupak stole the original 500,000 in '98, he must have also stolen the Bellini painting, or at least found evidence of it.
Providing the leverage for the later 5 million kroner payoff. The painting is the ultimate key to silencing Narvesen.
So the entire narrative of tragedy shifts now to one of highly calculated deception, and Fröhlich takes action on his own.
He bypasses official channels for a moment. He privately orders a DNA test on that single long black hair he found on his pillow.
And the results hit like a physical blow. The DNA does not match the skeletal remains found in the ashes of the chalet.
The body was not Elisabeth Faremo. The identity swap is now irrefutable.
The DNA in the ashes, it matched Meritha Sanmo.
Jonny Faremo's revenge-seeking ex-girlfriend.
This is the moment of ultimate clarity. Elisabeth wasn't running. She had planned an execution and staged her own death.
Meritha Sanmo, who provided the tip-off reeking of revenge, became the ultimate fall guy.
The sources confirm the whole sequence of events. Meritha Sanmo had dinner in Fagernes with a man later confirmed to be Inge Narvesen.
On the very night of the fire.
Yeah.
And Narvesen's tried to cover this up, claiming he paid Meritha 5 million kroner for sex.
Which Fröhlich immediately dismisses. 5 million kroner for sex is, as he puts it, a bit on the steep side.
Just a bit. The true story is that Narvesen paid Meritha that cash, the 5 million from the deposit box, to buy back the Bellini painting.
She was the go-between in the sale of the stolen artwork back to its owner, or at least the person desperate to possess it.
But Elisabeth intercepted the deal. She took Meritha's identity, drove to Patras, took a ferry to Bari, Italy, using Meritha's ticket.
And crucially, the banknotes used to pay for her travel were traced directly back to Narvesen's 5 million withdrawal.
Elisabeth had murdered the go-between, taken the payment, and used Meritha's body to fake her own death and escape.
Narvesen's motive is pure panic. He was terrified that his involvement with the stolen Bellini and the massive cash withdrawal would be exposed.
It's a beautifully layered motivation, revealing the full scope of the organized crime structure. Elisabeth used the painting as the asset, the 5 million as the reward.
And her relationship with Fröhlich as the professional shield, ensuring she had a safe place to hide the key until the whole transaction was complete.
The discovery of the identity swap and the Bellini payment immediately puts Fröhlich in mortal danger.
Right. From those trying to suppress the truth, namely Narvesen or his agents. And so we move into Act 4, the pursuit and final confrontation.
Fröhlich knows too much now. He has the information that connects Narvesen to international art crime and Meredith Anmo's death.
So they try to neutralize him twice. And it mirrors the violence used earlier against Reidun and, of course, the burning of the chalet.
The first attack is quick and brutal. He's cornered outside his flat by Rongstad or an accomplice on a motorbike.
And he briefly loses the key during the scuffle, which confirms that the other players know he has this critical piece as evidence.
The second attempt is far more calculated, more visceral. Frölich drives to his own chalet in Hemsedal.
Only to find himself locked inside, smelling paraffin. He sees flames licking up the walls. The door is wedged shut with a snow clearer.
He realizes they're trying to burn me to death in here.
It's a direct echo of the murder of Meredith Faremo. It just confirms the ruthless nature of his pursuers.
And he only survives by smashing his way out, suffering burns and inhaling smoke. He is now absolutely certain that the threat is real.
Then the final emotional hammer blow lands. Reidun Vestli's suicide letter arrives by post.
Addressed to Frölich. And this letter unlocks the final devastating piece of the puzzle regarding Elisabeth's betrayal of her former lover.
The letter confesses that Reidun told terrible people where Elisabeth was hiding because she feared pain. She admits, heartbreakingly, that she couldn't hold out.
And she asks Elisabeth for forgiveness.
This forces Frölich to reinterpret the severe beating Reidun received, and his conclusion is just chilling.
He realizes Elisabeth staged the break-in and the beating of Reidun to make it look like someone was hunting her.
And Reidun, just racked with guilt over her forced betrayal, then committed suicide, unintentionally completing Elisabeth's carefully constructed narrative of victimhood.
And drawing suspicion away from the staged murder of Meredith.
It's the ultimate betrayal, layered so deep. Reidun was manipulated, beaten, and then driven to suicide, all to serve Elisabeth's ultimate goal of escaping with the 5 million kroner.
So now Frölich knows the true location of his ghost. Elisabeth had once mentioned an island, Hvar, in Croatia or Greece.
He follows the financial trail of those recorded banknotes, Patras, Bari, until he finally tracks her down to a beach on Hvar.
And this final confrontation is just loaded with this tragic tension. He finds her bronzed, serene, walking along the beach in a sky blue dress as the waves wash over her feet.
She is the picture of wealthy, successful escape.
And Frölich, no longer the compromised lover, confronts her with the facts. He systematically details her entire plot.
Recognizing him in Torgata, initiating the relationship to distract him, swapping the keys, using him as a temporary safe.
Killing Meredith Faremo, faking her own death using Meredith's body, and escaping with Narvesen's 5 million.
And her defense is purely self-serving, just wrapped in these thin layers of loyalty.
She claims everything was done to protect Johnny, that Meredith blew the whistle, and that she couldn't involve Frölich because he was a policeman.
She denies personally killing Meredith, suggesting maybe Ballo did it. But she confirms Meredith died because, as she puts it, she never thinks about myself.
And that phrase is just a twisted admission of guilt. She's confirming that her focus is only on her own survival, her own ends.
She views everyone, Johnny, Reidun, Meredith, Frölich, as disposable objects in her quest for freedom and wealth.
But the detective, Frölich, has the final damning piece of evidence that brought her whole elaborate scheme down.
He reveals her critical, fatal error, the one oversight that proved the identity swap.
The hair.
The hair. He tells her she forgot to wear a hairnet, leaving a single long black hair on his pillow.
That hair, which he held on to perhaps as this last vestige of their intimate connection, was the physical evidence that proved she was alive.
It proved the body in the chalet was Meredith, and it exposed the entire deception.
Exposed, but utterly defiant and serene, Elisabeth gives her final gesture. She asks Frölich one last time to join her for a swim.
Then she walks into the cold sea in her bikini and just swims out, disappearing into the waves.
Frölich is left standing on the sand, watched by 2 uniformed policemen. The law finally catching up, but too late for the capture.
She has achieved her final escape, and he is left with the complete ruin of his professional life and the bitter taste of betrayal.
That brings us to our final review of the knowledge nuggets from this stunning source material.
We have traveled from a small convenience store in Oslo to the beaches of Hvar, tracking Elisabeth Faremo's calculated actions.
And the core fact is this. Elisabeth used Frölich as a professional shield. She left the bank safety deposit box key with him for safekeeping.
And that box contained the 5 million kroner payment from Inge Narvesen and the Giovanni Bellini painting, confirming Narvesen was deeply implicated in high-stakes art crime and blackmail.
The identity swap was the central mechanism of the crime. Meretha Samo, Johnny's vengeful ex-girlfriend, was the victim in the chalet fire.
Murdered and used to fake Elisabeth's death and secure her escape with the cash.
And the motivation was complex, but it was driven by deep-seated loyalty and greed. The poem, the tattoo, they suggested a long-standing loyalty to Ilija Zupak, the jailed ex-lover.
A desire to secure the funds derived from the crime network that Zupak initiated with that 1998 theft. And Frølich was just a means to an end.
A simple means to an end. The personal cost to him is immense. He was utterly devastated, used intimately and professionally.
Spending the final act of the story chasing a ghost he was too obsessed with to let go.
And that obsession leads us to our final, provocative thought. The image we are left with as Frølich watches her swim away.
If Elisabeth was capable of murdering Meretha, betraying Reidun, and using her brother Johnny's fate to secure her freedom and wealth,
all of it exposed by one single symbolic black hair she forgot to discard.
what truly is the cost for Frølich to hold on to that hair? It's no longer a token of intimacy. It's the physical evidence of his total deception and the ruin of his career.
Does he keep it as a painful reminder of his own foolishness, or does he finally let go of the last physical tie to his compromised life?
He carries the wound of her final touch long after she disappears into the cold sea. The story ends not with justice,
but with the painful continuation of a deeply scarred life.
Thank you for joining us for this incredibly detailed deep dive into the anatomy of obsession and deception in Oslo.
Until next time, stay curious. And perhaps think twice about the motives of anyone who seems too perfect too quickly.